Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
All right, great to be with you on the show today. Well, let's start with the NBA Finals, but let's start with big picture. I mean, somebody's going to win it, and that'll be great. They got a trophy, a parade, the whole deal. Now comes as what I would say is the ultimate test for what the NBA actually is. I'm going to go back 30 years.
Go for it.
30 years. Comments I made on shows that I hosted over the years when I was doing everyday talk radio and so forth, and it now really comes into play. At this point, 30 years ago, I said the NBA has been very fortunate over the last 15 years. So in other words, from 80 up to 95. And I said, they've either had Larry Bird or Magic Johnson or Michael Jordan or a combination of
two plus of them,
two out of the three in the finals. I said the test will be as to the popularity of the NBA is when they get a final that features Utah against Atlanta. I said, where it's Salt Lake City, one of the smaller markets. Atlanta's a market a lot of people don't really, outside of Atlanta, nobody really, cares about the Hawks. I said, that will be the test of the NBA. Well, Jordan kept getting to the final. And then the Lakers kept getting to the final. And they've Shaq and Kobe. And then LeBron went 10 straight years getting to the final. And then in getting to the final, part of it was going up against Steph Curry and the Warriors. And last year, they had the Celtics.
They had Celtics, and they had Luka, who was
But they had the Celtics.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm talking brand here.
No, I know.
No offense, Luka's adorable, the whole thing, but like the brand of the Boston Celtics.
Yes.
Like 18-time NBA champion. So people who love Larry Bird, like knew, okay. They've always. So this is what they've had. This is the run they've had. Now they got this. Adam Silver says, well. He says, the NFL, when Green Bay plays Pittsburgh, they aren't two of the bigger markets. They, this is, great matchups are great matchups. No. Okay? This is not the National Football League where you can have Green Bay play the L.A. Chargers. Okay? It's because, really, the L.A. Chargers are not Los Angeles.
No.
Okay? They are so far down the awareness poll in Los Angeles.
Yep.
Okay, they aren't the Rams.
Nope.
Right. You could have the L.A. Chargers play the Green Bay Packers, and they're still going to get between 100 and 125 million viewers on Super Bowl Sunday. This isn't going to happen. Okay, this is not going to happen. It'll be interesting to see what draw they get out of it. It has nothing to do with the players. Has zero to do with the players. Halliburton is a superior talent. Okay? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a tremendous talent. Williams is a great talent. Holmgren's a great talent. Right? Siakam's been there, done that. This has nothing to do with the players, has nothing to do with the coaches or the organizations. It has to do with markets and who are these people. It is one thing for us to sit there and we know who the chess pieces are because we follow the sport. It's another thing to have the casual fans sit there and go, oh, who's on Oklahoma City? All right. And again, when Oklahoma City was in the finals years ago, when they played Miami, they had Kevin Durant. Because remember, they had moved from Seattle, Oklahoma City. I mean, people don't realize Durant started his career in Seattle.
He had a year in Seattle.
Right? And so they had Durant. All right. Now, nobody knew who Westbrook was at that point. And in the country because LeBron was on the other side with Bosh and with Wade. So because they had LeBron, Bosh, and Wade, you got to watch the talent of Durant introduced to Westbrook and introduced to James Harden. Okay? His high school coach now works here at Penn State, Scott Parra.
Yeah.
Got some great Harden stories the other day from him. Incredible. Misunderstood in many ways.
Yeah.
But my point is that
you got to
now
build stars
got,
from LeBron.
Right? But in other words, what you have was, it wasn't just LeBron, but Wade.
And Bosh. It was the Heatles.
And Bosh. I mean, it was, okay, we're going to win, what did they say?
5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, they won
9.
2. They won 2. But that's what you had. And the Heat had put together a persona of not just having LeBron with them, but that persona of people love LeBron, they love they loved Wade, and there was a whole bunch of people out there that disliked LeBron, disliked Wade, but what did the two sides have in common? They both watched.
People hate watch.
Okay, now there's nobody here to dislike, right?
No.
It's marginal as to how many people like. Okay, but there's nobody dislikes anybody. There's no bad guy in this, right? In this, and look, not even remotely saying LeBron's a bad guy.
Yeah,
Wade's a bad guy.
but people like to hate.
Right. In other words,
that's a part of it.
Is Tom Brady a bad guy? No. But is Tom Brady hated by a segment of the sporting population? Yeah, because he wins. Right. LeBron, because he wins. Okay. And let's be honest about it. Also, not only has he won, but he's also been opinionated. Right? Opinions bring with it polarizing thoughts. But everybody watches. They watch. Okay? There's no polarizing figure in this. There's nobody in this you dislike. There's nobody in this. Okay. Say you have the same matchup next year, you may have more people watching because they want to see maybe, hey, can X win a second in a row? Or, hey, look, you know what? I hope they lose. They won last year.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have that. Okay? You have two teams trying to win their first NBA titles out there, which is a nice storyline, but it doesn't resonate with the public. Okay? But you have 30 markets. You're going to hit it sometime when, of the 30 markets, 2 of them are in the category of like, really? That doesn't mean in Indianapolis, where they love basketball. I mean, it's interesting about what Rick Carlisle said. When it comes to basketball, there are 49 states, and then there's Indiana, which is great. Great line. But it's changed in 25 years. You did the Indiana trip, right?
I've been to Indiana twice.
Yeah. I don't know if you heard Dick and I talking about this, but you land at the airport, you come out, you come out of the airport, that church, you make the right, and then start working your way toward Bloomington. I said to Dick, I said, check the driveways. You know what we didn't see in the driveways? Which we saw 25 years ago? Basketball hoops. We didn't see any in any of the driveways. I kind of felt like that was unusual. But Indiana is a great basketball state. Oklahoma is a great oil state. I worked a game, SMU in Oklahoma, because I was there for basketball for Penn State. And Penn State was going to play Oklahoma for the national championship. So this is when they had Bosworth, they had Holloway, they had Casillas, they had Barry Switzer. And then when the game was over with, I interviewed all those guys to preview the Orange Bowl. And Switzer was great. Because when we went down to the Orange Bowl, I did this show down there. And Switzer came out and goes, hey, I know you. I said, yeah. I said, hey, do you have a couple minutes to come on the show? He says, Steve, I do. He says, yeah. He says, you and I got along great. Sure. So we sat down and did it. First call we got, guy says, I can't believe I'm talking to Barry Switzer. Right? But but I made a joke at some point when I was down there because, you go in from the airport, from Oklahoma City Airport down to Norman. And they're oil derricks. I said to somebody, if they thought there was oil on the 50-yard line in this stadium, I said they'd have to play around it. But that's what they are. But that's what you have here. You have a generic final, not in talent, not in teamwork, but in brand.
Yep.
And you're going to have the diehards. They're always there no matter what. So there's going to be a base group that will watch. You and I are two a part of that base. But I don't think there's enough intrigue to get a groundswell of casual fans to make up the difference compared to last year when you had Boston and Dallas, and before that, a couple of years ago, you had Boston and Steph Curry and Golden State.
And it was like oh my gosh, Steph is here. I want to watch.
Right,
and then you have the Boston people like, I want to hate on Boston. I want to watch against the Celtics.
Right. You had the brand. You had the
crowds.
brand of the Warriors, who had become a brand because of Draymond, because of
Steph
Curry,
and Clay.
because Klay Thompson was still there at the time, against the brand of the Boston Celtics, who finally were back trying to win their 18th. The whole thing took a couple of years. They finally got it, but. This is, Denver, Miami was sort of close to this, but this is worse.
Yeah, because you had
this is worse in terms of market.
Because at that point you had Miami, which is,
but you had Jokic, and Jokic was a phenomenon.
Yes,
Jimmy Butler was again. I'm not the biggest,
but you had the Heat brand, which still has the brand because they also were in the finals a few years before that.
Right,
so they had still enough.
They still had something, and Spoelstra's still coaching. And Jimmy Butler is.
He's a known name.
He's a name that is a really terrific player, but he's not one of the great.
Yeah.
Despite what the ESPN thing, he's not the greatest.
But along with it, you mentioned the idea of people watching because they want to hate on something. The Heat have that with the Heat culture stuff.
They do.
So they have people who want to watch the Heat lose.
Right.
So you've got all the different crowds coming together. Oklahoma City doesn't really have that because it's been a long enough time
nobody knows who these people are.
It's been a long enough time since the Russ, Paul George, Kevin Durant, James Harden, 10-year stretch.
Like Holmgren, they know because of Gonzaga.
Yes.
Okay, it may have been 1 year, but he was at Gonzaga. Again, this is one of the mistakes the NBA has made. I completely understand the global brand. I got it. Okay, I got that. We're a global brand. Now, what have they done with the global brand? I have no idea. I think they've sold merch.
And that is, I want to bring this up because we're getting to that.
They've sold merch.
Yes.
But at some point, I don't know quite what it means, but what you're getting is, and I've talked about this in the draft forever, I'm sure Richiche is a fine player. Okay? I'm sure Sarr is a fine player. But nobody knows who they are.
Yeah.
Chet Holmgren may have only played at Gonzaga a year, but because he played at Gonzaga, which has now, to its credit, a national following, people know who he is. Okay? Williams, to be honest with you,
UC Santa Barbara, right?
Yeah, he's a gaucho.
They would have known Shea because he played at Kentucky. Yeah. That's when they could know.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Halliburton played at Iowa State. Right. Okay. But there's not a groundswell of known names. In other words, when this draft comes up, so I'll just fast forward for a moment. Cooper Flagg's going to be the first overall pick. But people know who he is.
Because he played at Duke, and he was a star.
Okay? Cam Ward's the first overall pick in the NFL draft. Everybody always knows who the first overall pick in the draft is. Because it's college football. They're not going to Brazil to bring in somebody. They're not going to France to bring in somebody.
Yeah.
The Wembanyama thing, they did, I will say this, they did a great job, the NBA, in building up Wembanyama before the draft.
They brought him over with the Metropolitans to play against the G League group, which was Scoot Henderson.
But you've got to see him. You've got to see this guy. You got to see this guy. Finally got to the point like, okay, well, I'll watch him. Like, oh, geez, he's a big dude.
Yeah.
Right? So they at least had some, right? Then after that, the G League stuff started coming into play. And those guys
But they brought him in, and they brought him against the guy who was Scoot Henderson. They're like, oh, he's going to be the other guy going for that first one. They made it into a spectacle.
Right, but nobody knows who Scoot Henderson is.
But the point was,
Wembanyama, they figured out. Even when he was drafted, everyone was like, Scott, no, Scoot Henderson. They have no idea. That's why the G League thing, that the Ignite thing, has died.
But the point is, they brought him over to play against an American, quote-unquote, college type of team, to play against that, to showcase him in America, and made it a thing. And
the thing was not to make Scoot Henderson a thing, because he ended up not being a thing.
It was to make
him a thing.
Wemby a USA level star.
Last year's draft was a publicity disaster. All right, in terms of you may have advanced the league with some talent, but you didn't advance the league in the minds of people watching. So now, again, you've had last year's draft that didn't help you. You've got a finals that doesn't help you. The one thing that they do have is they are going to be awash in cash. They're no longer is the NBA TV contract based on ratings. They're guaranteed this money, this $7.5 billion that they're going to get. They tripled their money between Amazon, NBC, ABC, ESPN. So they tripled their money, which was their stated goal when they started, and I thought they would never get to it. I said, look, they'll get 2 to 2.5.
But they
actually got. Normally, you don't get what you ask for. Normally, I'll leave it at that. Not the case, but
they're getting the money they asked for. They got it, and they are going from there. You mentioned the world and the brands and all those things.
But again, moving forward, you're going to be on NBC. You're going to be you're going to be on Sunday Night Basketball. I mean, that's a great package for them.
Oh yeah,
because it allows you to go from NFL Sunday Night Football, and then you take the baton and move it forward on Sunday night. That's a great package for them. Amazon's fine. I think they're going to do it on Thursdays.
But the point is, football. But they're starting to build the Amazon brand, which again, it helps. It's not a major thing, but Amazon's dipping their toe in, and that, as we've seen with Thursday Night Football, isn't a bad thing.
Right.
So,
I mean, no, what they've done is smart, both financially and also, look, you're now, by putting it on Amazon, which has already established itself in sports.
Yeah.
All right. That is that'll be a big deal. But again, ratings wise, if you're to predict, I think they'll be okay, but the ratings will be no better than okay, because I just don't think there's enough intrigue for people to get interested.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Speaking of this topic, can you name me, in terms of all professional sports in the U.S., the best quote-unquote gimmick weekend we've seen, whether it's an all-star or something else? What was the best we've seen in the past 5 years?
Of a gimmick?
Of an all-star weekend, one of those types of weekends. What's the best one we've seen any sport do? Where ratings have been really good for it.
Well, it's Four Nations.
Four Nations. And Adam Silver is trying to take that and run with it for the NBA. He announced the 2026 All-Star Game will be Team USA versus the Team World.
That's fine.
Like it should have been for years. Everyone's been like, that's the answer. Because you look at the MVPs of the past few years, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Canada, Jokic, Serbia, Giannis, Greece, Embiid now is USA, but he was Cameroon.
Yep.
Like Luka Doncic, Slovenia. You go back, Wemby, France.
Right.
So you look at it, they're trying to do the world team versus the USA team.
Sure.
And I wanted to just give you an idea of what the team world team would look like, which would be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Victor Wembanyama, Nikola Jokic, a starting five. It's a heck of a brand grouping in terms of them. I think they're probably bigger than the Team USA team they're going to put out there, excluding a 40-year-old Steph and a LeBron. You've got Anthony Edwards, Jason Tatum, Anthony Davis, Jalen Brunson, Donovan Mitchell.
Tatum won't be able to play in that.
No. But
next year?
Yeah, next year he's not.
Next year is no.
So you've got Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton, Anthony Davis, and then a bunch of other players who are really good. But
Jalen Brunson,
Carl Anthony Towns. Well, no. Cat would represent Team World because he plays for the Dominican.
Good.
But he'll
get cut.
But I'm saying you have bigger stars in the world team than you do on the USA team, which is, I know, is something we've discussed quite a bit of, that the star in the USA team that they need is Anthony Edwards. He's the guy you need that they're trying to kind of focus around. They wanted it to be Zion. That hasn't worked. Jason Tatum.
That's not going to work at all.
No, but Steph, LeBron, and KD are all aging out. The next dude up, I would think, is Anthony Edwards in terms of star power.
I'll give you one. You could have Cooper Flag out there.
Cooper Flag, yeah.
And by the way, when they did the workouts,
the select team versus
Cooper Flag did really well.
Kevin Durant said he was like, he could play today and wouldn't have an issue.
Right, so Durant would be on the American team.
Oh yeah, well that was my point.
And he plays well in those situations.
Kevin Durant is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, Team USA player of all time. He's incredible. So that is what the NBA is now doing. As you mentioned, the NBA Finals start today.
And it's going to be, believe me, I think it's going to be fun to watch because Indiana scores, plays with pace. The Thunder is such a terrific all-around team. And I think at some point, Stephen A. Smith will be able to tell everybody exactly all the names of the players.
And have you
seen that?
No, I know. He
butchers stuff.
He butchers stuff all the time. And also in this, I think it helps that both teams play a fun style, which will help at least some people be like, okay, I can watch it, because they're both fun teams. Because if you I say this in the kindest way possible. If the Knicks were on the same brand level as the Pacers, it'd be more fun to watch the Pacers than the Knicks. Because my God, the Knicks are not fun to watch. They're just give runs in the ball, back them down, and maybe do something. There are certain teams you'd like. If I'm watching a game, I can engage in it because it's a fun team to watch. The Pacers are that. The Thunder are that. Yeah. And so that'll at least get some people in. Terms of
what would help them a little bit is if the first two games in Oklahoma City were split. Okay.
You got something. And if they're not blowouts.
Right. Now, if Oklahoma City wins the first two games, just say it's the home team that wins both. I think you'll get some people watching Game 3 to see if there's any life.
And if it's a over, I think 15-point margin for each game, that's when it gets to be a problem. If it's 10 points or less, close, cool. Anything more than that is when you get a little dicey.
And by the way, the key number for Indiana is quite simply 120.
Yeah.
If they get to 120, they have lost only twice all year, including the playoffs.
Yeah.
Now, I would like to point out that the key number for Oklahoma City is 1. That's the number of times they lost to an Eastern Conference team this season. But, I mean, look, diehards like you and I, we're going to watch. Right? Always the key is, can you get the casual fan engaged? This is going to be a fight for the NBA to get the casual fan engaged.
Yes. And when it comes to the betting stuff, which I know we don't talk about in general, I just wanted to bring it up to give an idea. The Pacers are 5-1 underdogs to Oklahoma City. It's the longest odds for any team in the finals since the 2004 champion Detroit Pistons.
But by the way, I want to point out, there's a reason why Oklahoma City's in this spot. If you really are an NBA fan, from the first day of the season till now, they've been the best team.
They've won 80 games. They have the MVP. They have the most complete roster in the NBA. They have you can't find almost any flaws on the team.
I mean, they're really good. Now the question is, the key to this is going to be the fourth quarter, right? Not because it's a typical NBA game where you get down I only watched the last 5 minutes. No, it has nothing to do with that. If Oklahoma City through the first 3 quarters, okay, and this is what, remember we were talking about the tush push with the Eagles, and I said, what's the key with that? The key with that is being really good on first and second down. So they're at third down and 4 or 5.
You need to get 8 to 9 yards on the first 2 downs.
Right. Okay. Or if they go 3 downs and it's 4th down and 4 or 5, they can't run the play. So you got to be good on the. Okay. Oklahoma City's going to have to go into the fourth quarter controlling the tempo of the game. If Indiana's running, even if they're behind, they have a tendency to wear teams down because at this point you're tired from all the running, the full court pressure, the pace which they want to play, the outlets in the run, and so forth. If they control that, then Oklahoma City is going to win by double digits.
Switching to a different sport, I think, Steve, we are what teams need to break curses and to break losing streaks, because the Colorado Rockies won their first series, their first 3-game sweep since May of 2024 against the Padres. They did it with a 3-game sweep of the Miami Marlins, 6-4, 3-2, and 3-2.
In a related note, the entire Marlins team has been cut, and the coaching staff has been reassigned.
That it has.
Just kidding.
And I enjoy checking out just some random statistics here and there just to look at this. Can you tell me who you think has the highest plus run differential in the MLB right now, and what the number would be?
Highest plus? Okay, plus.
Yeah.
Run differential in the MLB?
We're through 60 games.
I'll venture to say the easy answer is the Dodgers, and I'll say they're plus probably 82.
They are plus 75 right now. The number 1 team is the Cubs, plus 100, and they're 38 and 23. I believe the Cubs are one of the top teams, and they're currently second in the NL, but plus 100.
Yeah.
The Rockies, through the same number of games, are minus 181.
Right. No, they're terrible.
It is astronomically
they
bad.
lost the game 21-0.
Yeah.
To the Reds.
But we caused them to break their streak because, for whatever reason, we said they were terrible, and they win 3 straight games.
Yep.
So if you need to win games, just get on our radar, and we have you covered. It's just
I'm conflicted about the Rockies in this regard, and we talked about this leaving the studio yesterday. So one of the complaints about them is that they're complacent because they don't change personnel. I mean, in terms of like front office personnel. Okay. And there's a part of me that I admire that. In that, to me, 2 of the elements that I was always brought up on by my parents, and they drummed it into my brother and I all the time, and that was hard work, work ethic, loyalty, loyalty, work ethic. Now, I'm not around the Rockies organization at all. And I guess they haven't changed people a lot over the years. It even took them a lot to fire Buddy Black after the 21-0 loss or whatever it was to the Reds. So I'm conflicted about this because to me, loyalty is something that, now, you can't be loyal to somebody who's just like, I'm loyal to them and they're not pulling their weight. Okay. Now, that part is an issue. So what you have to do is make sure people are pulling their weight. So if they're pulling their weight, I don't mind the loyalty part. But there's some things with them that do have to change. And you have to ask yourself, when they had Helton, who was a terrific player, when they had Troy Tulowitzki, who's a terrific player,
Carlos Gonzalez.
Gonzalez, terrific player. They had Blackman, the center fielder.
Charlie Blackman was there.
They had DJ LeMahieu. They had Trevor Story at one point. I think they have to ask themselves, how did we get to that point with those guys? And we need to do it again. Because right now, they're making the Pirates look good.
Which is saying something.
That's really hard to do.
It is really, really hard to do. In terms of overall standings right now, based purely on win percentage, because some teams have played more than others, the Rockies are currently 194. The second worst team, the White Sox, who, as we said last year, set records for how terrible they were, are 306. They have 7 more wins than the Rockies do. And then it's the Athletics, who have, by the way, gone 1-19.
Yeah, can I point about the White Sox? I mean, I saw them play, so I saw them play this year. Now, I know it's one game, but I've actually, going into the game, kind of, took a look at what they were doing and not doing. Their problem is their offense.
Yeah.
Their pitching is not that bad. So the problem is the Rockies' pitching is bad.
Well, this is something I want to bring up, and it relates to the Paul Skeens discussion, which we'll get to in a second. The Rockies have scored 196 runs and given up 377 runs this season.
Awful.
The Pittsburgh Pirates have scored 197 runs and given up 255.
Yeah.
They've given up 122 less runs and scored one more run than them.
Yeah.
And this brings us to the...
Now, remember, the Pirates win
Yes.
26 straight games. 26 straight games where they scored fewer than 4 runs.
Yes. And this brings us to the Pirate discussion, which is something today. And that is the idea of Paul Skeens. Because I don't know why this has become a topic, but it has. And I'd be remiss if I didn't bring it up as dumb. Of people saying the Pirates should trade Paul Skeens.
Right.
Why? Because it's not like he's going to make you any better to trade because he's giving up almost no runs. He gave up 19 runs, I think, in 13 games pitched.
Right.
And they lost like 12 of them or something, like crazy.
Okay.
Or I forget what it was. But he's given up no runs. And he's losing because they're terrible.
All right. So let's go with a common mistake, and the Pirates have made this common mistake repeatedly. We need to get more prospects. So they keep dealing people to get more prospects. You're supposed to make the populace excited about the prospects. Really? Interesting. Which prospects that have they acquired that have made their mark, that they've acquired, that we sat back and go, boy, I'm glad we made that deal? Okay?
I do not know.
Part of the subtle definition of a prospect is haven't done it before.
Unproven.
Right? Haven't done it. Now, doesn't mean they can't. But which ones have they acquired where we sat back and boy, I'll tell you, we got them on that trade. This is not, remember when, I think it was Doyle Alexander was sent to Detroit, and in the trade, the Braves acquired John Smoltz. Right? Now, at the time, nobody knew who John Smoltz was. Or when the Red Sox, looking for a left-handed reliever, got Larry Anderson from Houston and gave up a prospect in Double-A by the name of Jeff Bagwell. Those trades have happened over the years. But the fact that we can specifically remember those trades.
Yeah.
Okay?
Or was it Nolan Ryan for Jim Fregosi?
Nolan Ryan for Jim Fregosi. That was the Mets Angels. Okay? But I'll give you a primary one. Mookie Betts was dealt by the Red Sox to the Dodgers in one of the single more baffling things I've ever seen in my life. Who do they have out of it? They still have Connor Wong, the catcher, okay, who's not even the primary catcher for them right now. Verdugo's gone. I mean, they don't have anybody left from that trade.
No.
Right? The lesson is over and over again, you keep the established star and you build around them. You don't deal the established star. You don't do that. Okay? You build around them. Skeens is a no trade no matter what, and I'm figuring out right now with his agent about how we can get him extended with an idea that we're going to take some of the TV money, the media money. We're going to start putting some. Now, I don't own the team. I'm not Bob Nutting. But I can tell you right now, if I own the team and I have Bob Nutting's money, we're in there with Ben Cherington right now saying, hey, look, we're going to get this stuff corrected now. Right? Let's get it corrected now. And they said, and we tell everybody in no uncertain terms, including especially Pittsburgh, that we aren't dealing him. He is a no-touch guy. Who are you going to acquire? We're going to get 8 prospects for him. Okay, you're going to get 8 duds. Because, number one, you're not very good at looking at talent to begin with. Okay? You aren't. Okay? I'm still baffled they drafted Henry Davis first overall. I was like, when that happened, I was like, okay, really? I don't see it. Right? Okay? And I'm always amazed when he does anything. Hey, I had a great night. I'm like, oh, you had a great night. Okay, good. I understand your job to tell everybody you had a great night. I got that part. But You just kind of sit there and go, what the heck are we doing here? And this is been the Pirate problem for a long period of time, right? Where they've made these deals, right? I remember they dealt Joel Hanrahan and one other player, which we'll get to in a moment, for 4 prospects from the Red Sox. You know what the 4 prospects did? Nothing. Now, Hanrahan got hurt, and he did nothing for the Red Sox. The other guy included in the deal? Brock Holt.
Never heard of him.
Yeah. The ability to not, you're not doing a smooth enough job of evaluating. See, when you make a trade, let's see, who was I talking to about this? He was the Cardinals general manager, and then he became the Reds general manager.
Cardinals general manager to Reds general manager.
Yeah.
When?
This would be back in the late 2000s.
Reds general managers.
He became the Reds general manager after he was the Cardinals GM. Walt Jocketty?
Walt Jocketty.
Yeah. So I'm talking to him one day, and I said, I asked him, Walt, what is the importance you place on not only knowing what you're requiring, but also knowing exactly what you're giving up? That was the question. And he looked at me, he said, Steve, in our business, that's the whole ball game. The Pirates have done a poor job over the years of not knowing what they were giving up and what it meant to the core of the team. And based on the trades they've made, they have had no idea what they were acquiring.
Can I ask you?
And that's why the Skeens think they know what they have. They did the right thing. They had drafted the number 1 guy. They drafted the established guy, the guy that had a career going in college against great competition, and you knew you were getting somebody maybe not as great as he's been, but you knew he was going to be really darn good when you got him, right? And so they know what they have in him. Build around him. That's your quarterback.
Steve, right now, Paul Skeens is the odds-on favorite to win the NL Cy Young. Only one pitcher ever has won the Cy Young with a losing record. One pitcher ever. One has gone even. 6-6, I believe, was his record. It was Bruce Sutter with the Cubs in '79.
Bruce Sutter.
He was 6-6.
Yeah.
One pitcher ever has gone with a losing record and won a Cy Young.
Yeah.
So, one ever. It was Eric Gagne.
Right.
That's it. Right. So 2 closers.
Yeah.
2 relievers are the guys who won the Cy Youngs with even or worse records.
You know what's interesting? Gagne. He was with the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Right. He had 58. He was like 58 for 58 in saves.
He had 55 saves, or a 120 ERA.
So 55 saves. Hey, he hasn't blown a save all year. He actually did blow a save that year. Right. And I want to say the year was 2004.
2003 was a Cy Young year.
2003. Okay. Well, 2004, he comes back and he's on this roll. He's got X amount of games where he hasn't blown a save. In that 2-year span, he blew one. It was the All-Star game. No. You want to know why it was important? Because the league that won the All-Star game got the host.
Yeah.
So the Red Sox got to host the first 2 games of the World Series because he blew a save.
Jeez. Well,
he gave up a home run to somebody from the White Sox in the 9th inning.
It may have been like a Carlos Quentin, Paul Konerko.
Yeah, it was somebody from the White Sox that homered off him in the 9th inning of the 2004 All-Star game.
2003 or 2004?
Four. It would be 2004.
2004 MLB All-Star game. White Sox players. The AL won 9-4 in that game.
Okay.
You sure it's not 2003?
Maybe it was 3.
3. It was a 6-7 ball game, I believe. If I could scroll.
But he gave up a home run. May have been 2003. His Cy Young
game. It was 2004. Come on now. Going back to 2003. Come. There we go. 2003. It was the AL won 7-6. It was at U.S. Cellular.
Yeah.
And the White Sox had.
There's a box score that tells you who homered.
I'm guessing it was Garrett Anderson or Hank Blaylock.
May have been Hank Blaylock.
Let me see. In the eighth came Eric Gagne, who did not blow any saves in 2003. The All-Star game would prove to be the one blemish on his record. Staked to a 6-4 lead, Gagne gave a 1-out double to Garrett Anderson, who was replaced by Melvin Mora pinch running. Vernon Wells singled Mora home to make it a 1-run game. Then Hank Blaylock hit a dramatic 2-out go-ahead home run to put the AL up 7-6.
Thank you.
Yes.
So the Yankees got to host the World Series.
Yes.
Where they lost to the Marlins.
Yeah. That year, by the way, Garrett Anderson was the home run derby winner over Albert Pujols.
Okay.
Just to add some funness in there. But Paul Skeens right now, odds-on favorite to win the Cy Young, and he has a 4-6 record.
And again, well, see, that's the absurdity of all this.
We are getting to literal craziness.
Right. No, because the problem goes back to what I said. You can't go 26 straight games where you're scoring fewer than 4 runs, which is what they did. Their offense is so anemic. And when it comes to roster construction, I don't get these guys. Because, look, Skeens isn't the only one.
No.
They're starting pitching for the Pirates.
Good.
It's actually very good. Yeah. And they don't have Jared Jones right now.
Yeah.
Right? And a healthy Jones is added in. People would love to be around that staff. The middle relief is
But they have Skeens, Keller, Heaney, and Falter.
But I want to point out, most everybody in baseball, their middle relief is Because I pointed out many times on the baseball front that the teams that end up winning, getting to the playoffs, making deep runs, maybe eventually winning it all, usually have guys in that middle relief, 6th, 7th, 8th inning, somewhere in there, where they're either having their career year or their second best year. Right? That's why you see even after teams have won, they change the guys out.
Yeah.
Why do they change the guys out? Because they know the shelf life
is 6 months.
You're in this role because you're good enough to be in the majors, and we're just hoping you have your best year.
And we need you to just not be terrible.
Right? We're hoping here.
But Skeens, as of right now, just to give you another idea here, so he has pitched 13 games this season.
Yep.
He's 4-6 record. He has a 2.05 ERA, 83 innings pitched, 85 strikeouts, 19 walks, 21 runs given up, 19 earned. So he's given up 19 earned runs in 13 starts.
And he's great to watch pitch.
He's given up 3 runs every 2 games, pretty much is where he's at right now.
And I think he had a game where he had a bad game. And
even like 3 or 4.
Everybody has won a bad game, for goodness sake. I mean, you're shocked. Greg Maddux lost a couple in his career.
The most earned runs he's given up was against the St. Louis Cardinals. He gave up 5.
Right.
And that was in his 3rd start of the season. So
that stuff happens.
It happens. But again, he has a 2.05 ERA. He's the odds-on favorite to win the Cy Young Award and be the second ever pitcher to win with a losing record.
But again,
only other guy was Gagne, who was a closer.
He was a closer. This is a starting pitcher.
Yeah, Gagne was 2-2 for 2-3 that year. That's ridiculous.
I mean, look, there's going to be a point in Skeens' career where he's going to want to win.
Yes.
Okay. And that's why maybe he doesn't sign anything with them, because there's no commitment to winning there. The commitment, and it's showing in the stands.
Yeah.
I mean, people are like, I don't want to go watch this, right? Because they don't. I mean, the Yankees came in the first series of the year, and they didn't sell it out. I mean, the Yankees. Right? Yeah, it's opening days to sell it. At least I think it was.
So Paul Skeens right now is under control this year and next year. 2027, 28, and 29 would be arbitration. 2030, he would be a free agent. So it's in 5 years.
Yeah.
He would be 28, and that would be his prime pitching. Like 28 to 33 is when you are cooking.
Right.
So he would enter his prime as a free agent. If they do not do anything with him, or they do not trade him, they don't do literally anything with him. No contract, no nothing. Arbitrate for 3 years, and then he's out.
If you build something where you feel like you're rising, like all of a sudden, like, okay, let's just pick a number, an arbitrary number. Let's say you're a 71 team. So you're 70 and 92. I don't even know who's managing the team these days. Don Kelly or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this doesn't really give you the Bruce Bochy feeling. No, but again, you don't know. I said this about Derek Shelton for years. I have no idea if he's a good manager. None. Zero. Zip. Zilch. He has not in the months of July, August, and September. He hasn't made a meaningful call in a game the entire time that they swung a pennant race. Okay, so I don't know how good these guys are. Okay, so question is, can you take 70, say this year? Let's say that's the number. And now you win 77 next year. Okay. Then maybe you win 84 the year after, which puts you, by the way, in the mix for potentially being in a one-game playoff. You start making a little bit of progress like that, your chances of keeping him increase exponentially. But they're never going to be able to pay him. I mean, if Garrett Cole's getting $36 million, or at least that's what he was getting. I guess he redid his contract. All right. If he's getting $36 million, how much is this guy worth? I mean, like Cole, he came into the league older. And Cole was at UCLA. And Cole actually, when he came out of high school, was drafted by the Yankees, ironically. But, I mean, Skeens is but he doesn't have as much wear and tear on his arm either. Because
he was a catcher.
He was a catcher at Air Force to start out with.
So right now, I'm looking at all of the largest MLB contracts. So pitchers, number one, average annual value-wise, per year. DeGrom's got 37. Garrett Cole's got 36. Strasburg, 35 technically. He's still under the contract because they're still paying him. Corbin Burns, 35. Greinke, 34 he was up there. But that's who you're looking at in terms of average annual value of contract.
He keeps going where he's going. He's $40 million a year.
I think he could get more. I think because he has the arm and longevity.
Again, I want to know what the media contracts are at that point. You're losing the ESPN contract. Can you properly replace it? Because regional sports networks are struggling right now, which was thought to be the cash cow for all these. See what I mean? There's all these factors are going to come into play as to whether you actually can. That anybody, anybody outside the Yankees and the Dodgers can do that.
But the general point here is someone's going to want to pay him. And 2030 rolls around, there's going to be a team that's going to say, hey, we'll pay you. We have a lot of money. Would you like this money? Here you go, Paul Skeens. Why wouldn't they? He's going to be at the peak of his powers. He's the Cy Young favorite with a 4-6 record, which the only pitcher I can think of in my recent memory that would have always been around the 500 mark is like Felix Hernandez. But even he was a plus record. You are sitting in literal uncharted territory for a pitcher being this good and his team sucking that much. It is. It hurts my head.
Oh, I know.
So we'll see what happens with Paul Skeens going forward. The NBA Finals are tonight. The NHL first round was last night, by the way, as we wrap up here. Draisaitl scored one of the game.
It's the one thing that the NHL has that nobody has. That one shot ends the game. I mean, Stanley Cup overtime is completely different than anything else. In the NFL, each team gets a possession. College football, each team gets a possession. In the NBA and college basketball, you got 5 minutes. We go extra innings in Major League Baseball, but each team gets an at-bat. And then there's the Stanley Cup. One shot. You don't know when it's going to be. This one was 17 minutes in. And McDavid made a great play. Well, actually, Perry set it up. Got it, and then McDavid did what McDavid does. And got it to Draisaitl, and he got it past Bobrovsky, and they won. So you look back at last year, just by winning last night, it's the first time in the 2 years the two teams have played that Edmonton leads the series.
Look at that.
Thank you for listening to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, a 7 Mountain Media production. Come back at 11 every weekday for analysis of the latest happening in the sports landscape. From college football to European soccer, Steve and Kyle cover it all on